breaking news here. This courtesy of... Oh, wrong one. This we don't need the music bed. This courtesy of the BorwitzReport.com. Arguing that his motto, "Don't do stupid stuff," is not a coherent foreign policy, critics of President Obama are pressuring him to do stupid stuff without further delay. Senator John McCain and Senator Lindsey Graham led the attack on Thursday, blasting Obama for failing to craft a stupid response to crises in Iraq, Syria, and Ukraine. McCain said, instead of reacting to these events with the haste and recklessness they deserve, the president has chosen to waste valuable time thinking. This goes against the most fundamental principles of American foreign policy. Graham also expressed frustration with the president, telling reporters, quote, "The American people are waiting for President Obama to do something stupid, but their patience is wearing thin." In his most withering criticism, McCain called Obama's stubborn refusal to do stupid stuff a failure of leadership. "If I were president," McCain said, "you can bet your bottom dollar I would have done plenty of stupid stuff by now." Well, that's courtesy of Eddie Borowitz and with permission. Let's get a little more rational perspective on this than John McCain or Lindsey Graham. Mike Papantonio, America's lawyer. I'm mangling my words here, Pap. Sorry. America's lawyer on the line with us, ringofireradio.com. Hey, Pap, how you doing?
I'm doing well, Tom. You know, all this stupid stuff came together because of people like McCain. This ISIS story, I don't think people really understand the backstory that's so important. You know, in the 1980s, Reagan and Rumsfeld and the U.S. funded anti-Soviet rebels and provided huge weapon supply to bin Laden and al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda, then after that, if you remember the history, merged with ISIS. And then together, the next step was ISIS and al-Qaeda pushed to overthrow Gaddafi in Libya and to reassert this strong Islamic regime. And for them doing that, the U.S. provided more money, more arms, more airstrike, and more moral support for ISIS. Then the al-Qaeda ISIS group recovered huge amounts of U.S. weapons that we left behind in Iraq. I mean, tons and tons of weapons. It's disgusting when you start seeing what they drove away with and carried away. So then ISIS turned those weapons on Sunnis in Iraq with those same arms while they were emboldened and supported by Iran. So the new ISIS and al-Qaeda fanatics, then they moved to Syria, even with more U.S. weapons. In fact, the U.S., what's so funny about that, the U.S. was referring to them as the honorable Syrian rebels who were favored to topple Assad. In the media, ISIS was characterized as this victimized rebel force trying to rid Syria of this brutal dictator. And he's very brutal, don't get me wrong. But who's wrong now? Who's worse now? At this point, even al-Qaeda, as you've pointed out on your show, al-Qaeda has begun to reject ISIS because of their ridiculous fanaticism. I mean, they're so crazy. And I love the analogy, the kudzu analogy. You know, they brought all this kudzu down to the southern part of the United States because they thought it was pretty and was going to solve an insect problem. And now they've re-engineered nature and kudzu is strangling everything. Well, that's ISIS.
Right.
ISIS has relied on a set of circumstances that we created, and that set of circumstances is remarkable. It's phenomenal.
Well, we not only created the circumstances. I mean, we didn't just create al-Qaeda. Bin Laden was calling it the Mujahideen. According, as I recall, it's been a while since I've researched this, but my recollection is that either a U.S. intelligence agency or a U.S. media company invented the phrase al-Qaeda, which means the base in Arabic. And Bin Laden thought, "Oh, that's cool. I'll use that." And with ISIS, and I don't know why the president refers to it as ISIL. In the Levant, I realize it's a larger area than just Iraq and Syria, but we also, as you point out, we created ISIS. It's like we go ahead.
Yeah, well, Tom, there's another part of the creation too. ISIS has relied on a set of circumstances that we generated by our conduct with the UK primarily. It required this conduct, this evolving of ISIS required failed states. You had to have that. We helped do that in Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan. It required recruitment and growth for ISIS. And it became easy for them to do that because of the legacy that we left behind in these last 13 years of war on terror. I mean, let's go down the list. 9/11 sent the Bush regime into this frenzied, crazy idea of no plan, war on terror without any kind of plan. That left a trail of Muslim recruitment propaganda raging from Gitmo Dog on Naked Man videos. You remember that. I can visualize it right now. It was so ugly. The crucifixion torture photos from Abu Ghraib. The high-definition films of drones assassinating entire Muslim families somewhere out in a desert. The endless years of failed occupation attempts, bin Laden kill films, hundreds of thousands of other Muslim family members smart-bombed, Patriot missiled to their graves. All this created the perfect petri dish, the perfect breeding ground for ISIS quality extremism. It gave ISIS this avenue to recruit an almost complete acceptance of Muslims by Muslims all over the Middle East. So these are things that we brought about, Tom. This didn't just happen. This happened because you had idiots like Reagan and idiots like Bush and Cheney that said we can control the nature of the Middle East. We can bring kudzu into the Middle East. Well, the kudzu is ISIS, and it's strangling not just the Middle East. It'll strangle this entire entire part of the world unless we do something about it.
And then a year ago, when McCain and Graham were saying to the president, "Okay, go bomb Syria. Let's take out al-Assad, who is more aligned with Iran than anybody else. He's an Alawite, so he's more of a Shia." They said, "Let's take him out." And President Obama said, "Nah, I think I'll leave that up to Congress. You know, I'm perfectly willing. We're all positioned. We're ready to go." So then, when they didn't get that, they went to Prince Bandar. Bandar Bush, Bandar bin Sultan,
right.
and said, "Can you get some rich Saudis to help, these guys in Syria?" So Bandar does, and all this money goes to the Salafi Sunnis, the fundamentalist Sunnis, and surprise, surprise, they become ISIS. It's like go ahead.
Exactly. Well, the Saudis are still. I mean, that was then the Saudi Arabian princes, the people that we're doing business with every day, because of the petrodollar arrangement we have with them. They're still funding ISIS. Their money is going directly to ISIS as we speak. So they have this huge armament stash that we gave them. They have this huge propaganda machine that we gave them. And they have money coming from the Saudi Arabians. And the other part that the media misses, and it's incensing to me. I have a picture here where John McCain is actually meeting. He's meeting with ISIS, talking about what wonderful people they are. He's talking about how, his discussion about how they're the future possibility of success in the Middle East. This is John McCain. Wow. And then, of course, Graham, just like him. These are the people that are critical right now of Obama for not doing anything. But this is what they helped create. McCain was right there when Reagan said, well, let's expand our war in Afghanistan, let's arm everybody, right. And that became Al-Qaeda and bin Laden, and that has evolved now to ISIS. And unfortunately, Tom, we're in a position now where we have to do something. This is such a tyrannical, vile, evil force. We have to deal with it in some way, at least temporarily.
Well, and that's the bad news. The good news is that if we can empower the local people, if we can get locals involved, it seems that when ISIS takes over a city, within a few weeks, the people in the city are ready to get rid of ISIS.
Well, they will, but think about this. Typically, it's 400 to 1 between the Iraqi army that we supposedly trained, 400 to 1, and they still are running like scared school children from ISIS. Yeah.
And ISIS was using a bullhorn as their weapon?
Yes.
Yeah, I made that point yesterday. Mike Papantonio, America's Lawyer, host of Ring of Fire Radio, ringofireradio.com. Be sure to check it out. Pep, thanks so much.
Thank you, Tom.
We'll be back.